All right, everyone, here we go. Let's talk execution. Execution, we're talking about the implementation of a plan, carrying out a plan, not the carrying out of a death sentence to end someone's life. We're talking about executing a plan today and execution for growth. And I emphasize that X because the X represents your crossroads between the path that you're currently on and the path that you could be on to greater growth. I tell you, this is really where the rubber hits the road in this financial advisor business is execution. Those that are able to execute do really well. Those that aren't, don't do as well. And I'm telling you, even if you don't have the greatest plan, if you have a mediocre plan, if you execute it well, you'll do so much better than the perfect plan that was executed poorly. This is really what it's all about here, execution. So we're going to go through a few areas. I've got a nice resource here, this book here. I'm going to talk about as we go, but just keep in mind that this concept is an important one, and I think gaps in execution are an area that we want to investigate and self-reflect about. So I pretty much know all of you. Thank you for those of you being on live. I know most of you watch these video replays. I've been in the industry for a while now. I've been in your shoes as an advisor for many years. I work with many of the top practices in the country and really help them grow. As a group, Dynamic Directions, we work with many practices across the country. And so a lot of these best practices come from them. There's been a lot of learning, helping people grow, seeing what's working over the years. So I didn't make all this up. It's from me seeing what's working is a lot of what I have to pass on to you here. And keep in mind that the things going on in our head, our beliefs, or our mindset are really important to achieving results. If you want to grow, it starts right here. It starts how we're thinking, the things going on in between our ears. So when we have alignment with our beliefs and what we're thinking, that's what influences our behaviors and what we do. And our behaviors are what help us get results. If you only work on the behaviors to try and get results, it's not sustainable. It'll break down at some point. We really have to align all three. And once we get our beliefs in place, our mindset, we get those different behaviors than you have today to get different results than you're achieving today. So as we go, just pay attention. Is there any self-limiting beliefs that are going on inside of you, especially around this critical topic of execution? So I'm going to reference this book. I know it's been floating around the industry. Some of you may have read it. Some of you may have heard about it. If you have not, I highly recommend reading it. If you're not a big reader, audiobook is fabulous. If that's too much, there's a great executive summaries floating around on the internet. So there's some basic concepts that I'll highlight here and just kind of apply them to our industry just to frame this. And practices that are using this, it really is working. So here's the 4 disciplines or the 4 steps to execution. We'll talk a little bit about each. So one is having something you're trying to achieve, some kind of goal. And a lot of you might have many goals you're trying to achieve. And what's really helpful if you really get down, what's the wildly important goal? What's the one that's the priority over all the others? Or maybe the 2 or 3 that are the priority over all the others. I think when we look at goals, sometimes you can organize them by category. I think a lot of times there's like a main goal and then maybe some sub goals that support it. So, for example, in a practice, revenue or GDC is a really popular goal that people are trying to achieve. There might be some other metric like new assets in the door. That's a really important metric to achieve. So how one achieves revenue, that might be some sub goals that, hey, I want to have a certain amount in wrap accounts. I want to generate a certain amount in advice, financial planning fees. I want to generate a certain amount in insurance fees to get to the big goal. Those are kind of sub goals. So we're talking about the big ones are the WIGs, the wildly important ones. And number 2 is the lead measures. the really things that you can do every day that will lead to you accomplishing these goals. So I love this because it breaks down this really big, daunting thing that you're trying to achieve, and it breaks it down to its simple, most simple level of execution. So I talk about in my book, which is Attract More Clients, Better Clients. When I started as an advisor, we were doing phone calls, and there was a lot of data around how many phone calls it took to talk to somebody. And when you talk to somebody, how many people you need to talk to set an appointment. Of the people you set an appointment with, who actually stuck and came in. Of the people who came in, who would actually, how many of those people would actually become a client. And depending on how many people become a client, how much revenue that generates. And then based on, payout or whatever that might be at the firm, you could determine what you wanted to make. So if your wildly important goal was, I'm going to make a certain amount, back then in the late 90s, you could trace it back to how many phone calls you had to make per week. So it was pretty painful time, which I talk about in there, but it boiled it down to its simplest task. And the thing I could control was the number of times I dialed phone numbers. It was a controllable lead measure that led to the number of engagement meetings, or PMMs as we called them back then. The number of new clients that were acquired, the amount of revenue that was produced from that client, the amount of personal income that came from that. That was kind of the progression. So you can do this with anything. And I'll give the example of lead measures versus lagging measures. So let's say, for example, if someone's trying to lose some weight, and if we just looked at the scale all the time to see if we were losing weight, well, the scale gives us a lagging indicator. It gives us a lagging measure, because the lead measure should be, how much exercise are we doing? How much output is happening? What is our intake? Should there be a limiting of the calories that are intaken? Those would be more the lead measures. Then you start to see results in the lagging measures. So a lot of times the lagging measures are actually the goals in achieving those. So in our business, it's, we'll get to more detail, but it's the things that you can do every day, every week that lead to those results that you want to achieve. And the third one here, scoreboard, is just having some way that you can see what's going on so that you can keep score for yourself and see how you're doing. It's so typical that advisors just get caught up with busyness. There's stuff going on. There's client meetings to get ready for. You're in the midst of client meetings. You got to do follow-up. Compliance needs something wrong at the home office with some business that was being processed. All this stuff gets in the way, and we forget about these lead measures. We forget about the really important things that need to happen. So the scoreboard keeps you on track. And then the fourth one, cadence of accountability, is just, look, we all need some accountability to stay on track. And to stay on track, if we're reviewing that scoreboard, if we're regularly making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do every day, every week to achieve those goals, that's the cadence. Now, it's hard to do this all on your own. In a team environment, it's much more effective. Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you remember him, very popular actor. He was originally came on the scene. He was the youngest Mr. Universe, the bodybuilding competition. He was the youngest ever to win this award. And the workouts are just unbelievably intense. And one thing Arnold always talked about is he always had a workout partner, because the workouts were more intense. I know for me, when I work out with a trainer, it's way more intense than when I work out on my own. So you may want to think about who might be an accountability partner. Is there someone in your office, someone in your team, another advisor, whoever it might be, to keep you on track? It's really helpful to have that cadence of, I'm putting in my scoreboard, I'm reviewing it every week to see if I'm on track. I'm talking about it with my team or somebody to keep this going. That's kind of the rhythm here. So this progression has really been found by the Covey Group to really work and influence execution. So just remember that difference in lead measures, lagging measures. This is a conundrum I see with advisors, because they'll look at their GDC every week and wait for that report to come out and see how they did, where it really should be more about, how many times did they reach out to clients for new business? How many times did they reach out to a prospect? Then you'll start to see the lagging indicator show up. Those things will influence the new GDC, the new net flows coming in. That's an important aspect here to remember. So lead measures are really where it's really what it's all about. So here's an example from a really top practice that just absolutely crushes it when it comes to execution. And they boil down the business in a small number of things. They've got here the number of times they're asking for new business. So not just having a service meeting to service somebody and say, hey, everything looks fine, we'll see you in a few months, or we'll see you in 6 months. It's actively seeking and asking for new business. So that is a critical growth activity or lead measure. All of you have more business to do with existing clients, everyone. I have yet to see the practice that has captured every opportunity, because opportunities are endless. They're endless. And it's one of those things where, once you think you get pretty good, you realize that, oh my gosh, there's even more out there that I could be doing for my clients. Now, look, when we implement business with clients, it tends to help them. We're not just doing it for GDC. It helps people. The things we do help people. It's the best business there is. So asking for new business, critical one. But referral discussions. Referrals are still the number one way people are meeting their financial advisor. All this shiny objects, all this other stuff, it supports referrals. At the end of the day, most affluent people are meeting their advisor through some kind of introduction. So half the battle on referrals is just keeping people's radar on. It's really all that it is. If you're keeping the people who are referring you, you're talking about it. And it doesn't have to be someone comfortable. Write down the names of 5 people you know. I mean, you've seen our videos and many resources we have around referrals. It's just doing it. It's just bringing it up. And our great client acquisition guru Trevor Skiba said, you can have the worst referral ask, but if you do it consistently, something's going to happen. So check out our videos on the how to ask. But this is about execution. This is actually doing it. Is it happening? Is it happening a couple times a day? Is there a certain number of times a week it's happening? Prospects, whether they came to you as a referral, whether they're a past prospect, you can reach out to those people. That's something in your control. You can do every day, every week. Maybe you invent a new marketing event on your own, maybe with an advocate client says, hey, if we did this, I might be able to invite some people and introduce them. This is an example of this practice who's crushing it, by the way. This is an example of their simple scoreboard. It's how they track their implementation. So every day they're watching this, they're entering how they do. And then once a week, they kind of come up for air and say, okay, how do we do? How much in new GDC did we add? How many new prospects were added to the practice? One practice tracks engagement meetings or PMMs, they called many years ago when I started, but they track those. It's a lagging indicator. All these items in green here. How many new clients did we actually acquire? That's some of these lead measures up top in blue, and then lagging indicators in green down here. And again, all of these kind of flow to the WIG, which this example of WIG is down here in purple. So I'll email this to you so you have it. Those of you I'm working with, I've sent out this spreadsheet of scoreboard example. It's working for people. So definitely use that. Keep that in mind here. It's definitely working for others out there. So I see those that really review this daily are getting better results. And here's why. It's easy for this stuff that you should be focused on to slip through the cracks. You have a big client meeting, some bigs going on, you're busy throughout the day. It's very easy for these things to fall through the cracks. So a lot of this business you can calendar out, you can kind of predict. You could load up your week and have people scheduled that you're going to be asking business for. You could have advocates who have referred you in the past on your calendar during the week that you're going to bring up the referral discussion of, gosh, how can we make it easier to keep connecting with more people like you? So just, having some of this in the account, it helps with execution. It really does. But you got to keep some of this scoreboard on your radar, and you got to keep it on there daily. Because if you're really going to get in your, workouts and get the results that you want to get, it's about doing this stuff consistently. So I look at my scoreboard every single day. And when I look at it, sometimes I say, oh my gosh, I'm kind of not doing so well in this area. I'm sucking in this area. I need to step it up. I need to do a little bit extra in this area. And what's great about these scoreboards is you're not limited to the amount of things that you can do. One of the greatest implementers and someone who's excellent in execution, they do what they say they're going to do, and then they do, and then some. I'm going to reach out to 10 clients per week, and then some, which means they keep going after the 10. I'm going to reach out to 5 prospects per week, and then some, and they keep going. You're allowed to do more here. So when we review this daily, sometimes we can propel ourselves a little bit more. And maybe at the end of the day, you reach out to an extra client or two, or maybe you reach out to an extra prospect or two before you run out the door. Little things like this, just seeing it keeps it on your radar. So at least having some kind of reminder just to view it helps, or just keep it open on your computer to keep track of it. It really helps. It makes a difference. So daily review is big. For me, the cadence of accountability, I think this is where you really leverage your team. You leverage other people in the office. You leverage people to have that accountability with. If you don't feel like you have that person in play, look for that workout partner. If you need help finding them, reach out to me. I'll help you do it. Certainly in our coaching sessions, I want to talk more about these things. How are we doing at executing? If we're not, what's going on that we're not? But even in between our sessions, you got to have some regular, daily, weekly, some accountability there. I talked to some great advisors today that said, hey, I check in every day with my workout partner at the end of the day. Hey, how did you do? And how are we doing? Are we getting better? Did we do what we said we were going to do today? It's a great cadence to kind of build. And once you build this new habit, so going back to mindset and behaviors and results, if you build this new behavior for yourself, it's going to take some time to establish that habit. What's it, 6 weeks on average for a habit? Hey, some easy habits can be installed in a week or two. Some hard habits might take, many months or even years to get into place. So build that, consciously build that. I just recommend kind of making this part of team meetings. I think really, really helps. So to frame this out for advisors, know what you're trying to accomplish, know your goals, and then remember, prioritize them. The big, really, really important ones, the hairy, audacious goals, that's the stuff you want to have front and center. So prioritize them. You don't have to call them WIGs, wildly important goals, but it's become popular vernacular for those that use and follow 4DX. And you got to see them often. Know where you're going. Know where the end game is for this particular year. There's an end game. It's a journey in this business, which is fun. It makes it fun. If we arrive at some point, then, what's the point? But it's a journey, we'll grow, but we have checkpoints at the end of the year. So where are we going to be at the end of the year? What's the big goal we're trying to achieve? See them often. And look, this is where you should be aiming high. I think wherever your goals are, I think we should really press them. To achieve an easy goal, to really stretch yourself and achieve something special to achieve a big goal, yes. Now we're talking. And look, you can take a big goal and break it down into what needs to happen each week and every day, into these lead measures. It really works. And when you do it, it's not that daunting. It's really not that daunting to have some of these things in place. So remember, the activities, these lead measures, this is where the rubber hits the road for results. And every day you should be doing something to get there. And the scoreboard just keeps it organized. You keep it there, look at it every day, and make it part of some big, a portion of a team meeting. It doesn't have to be a whole meeting. It could be a couple minutes of a meeting. but just review how we're doing. Is this stuff working? Where are we going? So this is some of the most common execution things that I see practices focusing on. So going back to last month's webinar on the big growth ideas for 2021, we talked about the three main areas: what new business you could be doing with clients, how you can attract new clients and new assets or net flows to your practice, and also these quantum activities, mergers, acquisitions. A lot of you are active there. So listen, here's simple lead measures in each one. And I'm telling you, with new business with clients, it's there. It's waiting for you. All you have to do is ask them about it. And clients love when you bring them new things. They really value it. So how many times are you asking? How many times are you having a discussion about something new with the client, something that they can implement? Great lead measure. Another one I see too is just the outreaches to clients. So some business opportunities don't have to be a full formal meeting. There might be some easy things that you could just conduct over the phone. And it could be, gosh, Mr. and Mrs. John and Jane Doe, I noticed an opportunity in your investments. And I wanted to call and share it with you. It looks like, you have this. It looks like if we did this, you might be better off. What do you think about doing that? And people have added that. Oh my gosh, you're working for me and you're finding opportunities. Heck yeah, I want to do that. Sometimes that might create some more revenue for you. So sometimes it's just reaching out. I think a simple one is just how many times are you positioning some new business? How many times is that ask occurring? Easy metric to focus on. With new clients, this can get a little tricky for some of you. I get a lot of questions about this one here. So listen, referrals is everything. That's going to be your biggest way you get new people. I think the number of times you're having this discussion about referrals, that's the key. Remember, the whole battle is turning people's radar on and keeping it on to others just like them that you might be able to help together. Your client can help them by introducing them to you. And I'm sure if they're working with you, they are much better off than most of the advisors in the industry that stink, or these, Fidelity, Vanguard call centers that people are on hold and you get someone working from home once you finally get through. People are better off being your client, and you've got to believe that. But those conversations, bringing it up to turn people's radar on, that's where the rubber hits the road here. Listen, past prospects, huge opportunity. They're there. There's probably somebody from, I hear so often that, gosh, I met with this prospect years ago. They weren't ready. And then, then they were ready and they came in. So who are they going to think of first, you or somebody else? So that content, that could be a metric that you have. I find if you are putting on some kind of, virtual events or some kind of events that you're doing, the personal invitation from you is so key. I talk about that in my book. When you personally invite people to attend something, they're probably going to show up. You can interpret the value of the event, that this is a really special event and here's why you should attend. That's just a way to get more people there. I find the best events are small and they're the idea of an advocate. They say, gosh, if we did this together, I might be able to invite, a person or two, or, hey, what if we did, whatever together? That might be a way that we could get you introduced to this other person. Let's do this thing that all three of us have in common, or it could be simple as, hey, let's the three of us have a meal together. That's an activity. Making that happen, doing the steps that you need to take to get that to happen. That could lead to that referral in that result. So again, lead measure, get back to it. Now, quantum. For those of you that are really looking to grow and have some acquisitions, make some purchases. Those of you that are trying to bring in advisors from other firms, there's many quantum activities. Those are the two most popular. Same stuff. We're just applying it to advisors. How many times are you reaching out to advisors each week? How many times are you reaching out to the connectors who have access to these advisors to keep their radar on, to connect somebody to you? That same kind of concept here, but I see that, this isn't one that everyone's done a lot of. All of you have acquired a lot of clients. You've been able to reel them in. You've been able to do business with them. So these first two sections are a little bit easier for you to implement. This quantum one, it's different stuff. It's stuff you haven't done as much of. So therefore you're not going to be as good at it. Almost everything you do, the more you do it, the better you get. I put in 25,000 hours practicing drums and toured professionally. It was a lot of work. And you know what? I got pretty good at it. At first, I was pretty crappy. I wasn't very good. But with lots of time, I got much better. Same thing about your career as an advisor. Probably weren't very good at first, and then you got pretty good at it. So this is probably something that you're on the earlier stages of. I haven't done a lot of it. I haven't recruited a lot of people. I haven't purchased a lot of times. It's a new skill. So get back to the fundamentals. I find people that want to do this, they're not doing anything to source their deals. They're sitting back hoping one falls from the sky. And I hope one does for you. But if you do something to source a deal, you're much more likely to get the deal. So if you want to recruit people, you want to acquire practices, what's the lead measures you can control every day, every week to get there? Just reaching out to advisors helps. Keeps you on the radar. Reaching out to your connectors helps. Remember, connectors could be like a corporate person, like a field vice president or their team. It could be a wholesaler. It could be another professional. All the people in your lives. If you've got their radar on, that you're trying to bring in another advisor, or you would like to purchase the business of an advisor exiting the business. Execution is all about these lead measures. It is where the rubber hits the road. And to me, we've talked about framing this in the form of the book Traction. There's a lot of good ways to kind of frame on this. I see a lot of you using the Vision Traction Organizer, the VTO, to kind of keep, hey, here's where my business is going. Here's the really important parts of it. And on the next page, here's what's really important in 2021. This can help you organize the goals, even help you break down what's the big rocks in like the first quarter that we're in. What's the big rocks you've got to push? What's the other things down the road later in the year that you want to push? It can kind of organize it, but remember, it's all about execution. And if you can get down to here's what I need to do every day that I'm working in my business. Here's what I need to make sure is happening every week in my business. It's really, to me, how you achieve all the things in Traction, how you achieve the wildly important goals that you're trying to get here. So remember, if you're trying to get better results than you're currently getting, you're probably going to have to do something different. What you've been doing so far got you to this point, but it's something else to get you to that next point. Remember that X in execution. It's the crossroads. You can choose to do something different. You can choose to change. And you can change your thinking, you can change your behaviors, and you can change your results. It's possible to do, but it's most possible to do through execution. It really is everything. And just remember, even if you don't have the best plan, if you execute well, you're going to crush it. And that's what I'm really excited to see this year. Don't worry about having the perfect plan, because if it's not executed well, it doesn't matter. It's execution. Where the rubber hits the road, you doing the lead measures every day, every week, that's what's going to get you massive results. And I'm telling you what's going to happen. You start doing this stuff, your results are going to come early and often. And I love having a great problem to have that, whoa, we're beating our annual goals earlier. Let's lift them up. Let's stretch a little bit further. I know we'll all be in that position, but let's hit this early. Let's execute early in the year and get big results for later in the year. So keep pressing on. Don't get caught up in the obstacles. That's what losers do. Stay focused on results, where you're going, what really matters. That's what it's all about here. So I'm really excited for this year, really excited about all the growth. A lot of you have a lot of great things going on. So thank you for those of you that were able to be on live. Thank you for those of you watching the replay video on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, Dynamic Directions, there's tons. There's hours and hours and hours of great videos on there that can really help your practice. So looking forward to hearing about your growth. We'll see you in an upcoming coaching session. Everyone stay awesome. Take care.